What episode of Sittin Courtside today is Tuesday. Say what? Tuesday, February 11th. Early episode because for many of you, you may have noticed we did not have an episode last week. Hand up. We're an accountability podcast. Someone may have messed up the computer and accidentally deleted the entire recording, which I do have to say may have been a one of one recording. It was an amazing recording. We're going to probably reference a lot of things, and it's not going to make any sense to you
I
guys. That's okay. Hand up accountability podcast.
think somebody even said it was the best podcast ever. I think someone was saying, but
Yeah. Honestly, it was. I mean, we literally got done, and I was like, that was actually a really good podcast
mhm.
that no one will ever hear.
Ever here. We will reference it, forgetting that no one heard it, but sure, yeah, for sure. But yeah, two podcasts this week. The podcast that was not recorded was a bracketology podcast. So instead, that's what we'll be doing next podcast. So I'll go back through, out some bracketology things from like CBS and ESPN. That'll be Thursday, but today we're just going to do our normal kind of recap of a wild weekend that was in college basketball, and then
Mhm.
some previews of an absolutely huge Tuesday and Wednesday, or at least Tuesday's slate is just
Yeah.
magnificent. So, but before we go into that, you've had quite a month with your college football team making the national title game, not winning, but making the national game, and then of
Yeah.
course yesterday in the Super Bowl,
I
your
mean,
your Eagles win. So go ahead, take it away, go on a little victory tour here, because you also had one hell of a day betting too. For those that listen to the Let It Ride podcast that you were on.
holy smokes, dude. So Jay Hook said it, not me, but like people pay hundreds of dollars to do worse than what we did for free.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like everything we picked hit, like the most bizarre things. I think the only things that we missed were I had the under 48 and a half, which should have never happened. It should have been 40 to 6 game.
Mhm,
Kelsey over 61 and a half, which I hate because my wife actually saw my paper. I originally had under 61 and a half.
mhm.
And then if you don't count long shots, because they're long shots, and I think Jay Hooks had one miss. So if you take our best bets and our others, I think we were like 10 or 11 and like four.
Wow. Yeah, that is an impressive Super Bowl Sunday. That
Yeah.
is
And
amazing.
and the biggest hit of the day. So two big hits. So Jay Hooks had plus 625, Eagles to win by 7.5, I think. And then I had Gatorade, yellow or green, plus 425.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I had an absolutely terrible betting day, so I was just living through you and your guys'
Yeah.
picks. So, the
Yes.
only one I actually hit, and it came down to junk time, it was Xavier Worthy having more receiving yards than the point total for the 76ers. So it was like
Yeah.
127. So I thought that one was done, but it was plus
Yeah.
950, so it kind of saved me a bit.
Yeah. To go on that note, I actually, if you wanted to go down the road of like long shots, I did have Xavier Worthy long shot to win the MVP. And
Mhm.
quite frankly, he had the best offensive game probably of
Yeah.
anyone. So
Yeah.
like it was kind of in there. However, the
Mhm.
entire defense for the Eagles should have just won
Yeah.
MVP. But like just again, I'm on something. And further story on that. So I'm listening to a little bit of a hype song whenever I take my son to baseball practice on Sunday, and I just had this feeling come over me. If you follow my tweeter, I tweeted it out as I was feeling it. I was like, I've only felt like this once, maybe twice in my entire life. Like, I'm just saying it now. Eagles, guaranteed.
Okay.
Guaranteed. I then told my brother-in-law that came over. I was like, he's like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm just telling you right now, Eagles are winning. He's like, oh, okay. I'll bet the mortgage on it. I go
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock. I am texting you and I'm going to ask you how's it feel about the mortgage, and I stayed true to that. And he's just like, I
Nice.
don't even know what to say.
That is a
I told
hell
you
of a
it
feeling.
was it was different. It was
Yeah.
just different yesterday, and we manhandled them.
Yeah, we
It
did.
was
It was the
so
most
nice.
best defensive line performance I've ever seen. Like they just completely destroyed the Chiefs' offensive line. Mahomes could
Yes,
do nothing.
it was just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
So nice.
All right, let's go on and get to college basketball because we do have to talk about what was an absolute wild weekend.
Yeah.
Not a great weekend for your boy over here. If you saw on Friday night, I went 0 for 4 betting, and then of course we all know on Saturday my team lost. But we'll get into that in just a second. But we'll start with the number one team losing as a home double-digit favorite. Number one Auburn loses to Florida, who's number six. Now that they're up to number three in the newest rankings, tied for third
Mhm.
with Duke. This one, though, this one's more about how good Florida is in grabbing the W in Auburn and not them losing, right?
Yeah. 100%. I don't think that had anything to do with Auburn. I mean,
Hmm.
in the unheard podcast, I literally had that as a play. I said, I don't care what the spread is. I'm taking Florida to cover. And I think you even maybe referenced like if they get a win there, like that would be the biggest win of the year. Well, it was. So go Florida. Huge W for them. They snuck their way into a one seed discussion now,
Hmm.
but it's going to get real interesting this week in the SEC, is all I'm going to say.
Yes, it certainly is. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't even bring him up on that Untalked About podcast about potentially getting a one seed, but now they have, I think they're up to five quad one wins already, and they
Yeah,
still have Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Bama, Ole Miss, so they definitely have a shot at that last one seed.
yeah, big time.
And you're just not going to win too many games when another team shoots 40% from three and you only have two guys in doubles digits from your starting five. So just a bad game for Auburn.
Yeah.
The next one up, number two, Duke loses at Clemson by 6. How are you feeling about Duke before I go into this?
Okay, so I'm going to say this. Um, Again, unheard podcast. One of the losses I had last week was Clemson. They lost as an 11.5 point favorite straight up. I don't know why I ever bet them. They're the worst team in the world. And then I saw the line for the Duke game, and it felt a little ratty, but I'm like, you know what? Clemson actually, like metrically, is not a bad team. So maybe that's where they're getting this from. I thought Duke was going to boat race them.
Uh-huh.
Didn't happen. However, if you're asking me on a
Oregon.
worryometer,
Yes.
I got him at a 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like this is like normal, right? Like every year in college basketball, there's always like a top 2 or 3 team that has a weird late season loss. And like that's when you start the championship video, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
not concerned about them at all, really. I'm a little worried just because it was Clemson. Otherwise, I would have had you like a 1.
Yeah.
But
Mhm. For those of you watching on video, I was off camera for a second because I was trying to find my worgometer. Misplaced it. Not sure where it's at. Sorry,
oh
Bob. I'll
my
have it back. It's
goodness. Oh my
misplaced.
goodness.
I only gave it about a 2 second look, so I'm sure it's just where it is. But I also would have a 3. I'm not worried because they were also down Mason Gillis, a rotation player, and Cooper Flagg was sick while he was playing this game. If you watched, though, he was awful in the first half. He was just
Yeah, it's terrible.
really, really bad. And then he would completely dominate at the end. He was playing 1-on-5. The only thing that worries me about Duke is they're again a team that only has 3 scorers. It's Proctor, Flag, and Knuppel. And if Proctor wasn't being insanely like efficient right now, it'd just be the two of them. But they're like one of the best defensive teams. They just could not stop Clemson from anything. They shot 59% from the field, 40% from three. If you've watched Duke at all this season, you know they're a really good defensive team. So it's just a
Yep.
bad night. But very good team. They're not perfect. Obviously, they're not even probably the best team in college basketball right now. But I think they're still a very talented team. I'm not worried. I just if if the other team shoots the ball well, or one of those 3 guys don't score, the games are probably going to be close if it's a
Yep.
good quality team. So just a 3. But of course, I was hoping for a perfect ACC season. But so long to that.
Yep. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I think ideally you look at a Duke team, like the only teams you would quote unquote be worried about in an NCAA tournament are most likely teams they're not going to see till Elite Eight, Final Four.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you had to pick a team you do not want to see in their bracket that they have the potential of playing in the first 3 rounds, who would it be?
It's going to be one of these teams that I was going to bring up a little bit later. It's like an Arizona or a Creighton, a team that got hot at the end of the
Okay.
or in the middle of the end of the season that can score with Duke. And like right now, Arizona's defense is probably almost just as good as Duke's right now. So
You think Arizona would be in a range for that though right now?
I think so.
You think so?
I think there would be like a 5 seed right now if it ended
Okay,
today.
that's
So
fair. It's fair. Because I was trying to think through it myself. I was like, you're gonna have a team that plays decent defense to
yeah.
frustrate them on offense. You
Hmm.
also have to have a team that can score. And like instantly the teams that do that are the teams they're not going to see until
Yeah.
later. So I was like, I
Hmm.
have no idea who you'd even pick. But yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Arizona is one that to your point, I guess, like maybe
And
they
then
just
if
turn it into a run fest. Don't even care to
yeah.
play defense.
Hmm. And if like Arizona continues on their path right now, they'll end up being a higher seed than like a
Oh
5. They'll be
yeah.
like a 3 if they continue this way. It's just like if you look at a bracketology right now, you're probably going to find them like a 5 right now because of
Yeah,
their struggles at the beginning of the season.
it's fair.
All right, so again, the podcast never heard by anybody. We talked about the one seeds. Do you still have Auburn on the top line, and is it still the same 4, or do you have Bama jumping over Duke for the number 2 one seed? What do you got there for the 4 ones?
Um so as of today, going to my head, yeah, Auburn will still be one. Like I don't know how you're gonna hold that against them.
Mhm.
I still think you have to put Duke too, because again, Duke did beat Auburn at Duke. And then, I mean, Alabama, Auburn are going to play this week. So
Yeah.
if they're going to get leaped, it's because
Yeah.
Bama wins, and then they would leapfrog them. But again, I go with that. Bama 3, 4. You probably put Florida there now. I
Them or
think so.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and I'm fine either way, honestly. And
Yeah.
weirdly, I almost like want Florida to be a 2 seed.
Yeah, for sure. I would rather, if I'm going to root for Florida, I'd rather them have that, like the best 2 seed than the worst 1 seed. So,
Correct. Correct.
yeah, I have the same thing as you. Obviously, Alabama has plenty of opportunities to hop over Duke because they have so many good teams left on their schedule.
Yep.
But right now, man, I forgot how many more quad one wins Auburn has than any other team. They have 12, and nobody else has more than 8. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, just talk about these teams. But let's go into it a little bit more. There's probably no two hotter teams in America right now than Creighton and Arizona. In the last 6 weeks, they've just been absolutely amazing. Arizona is now 13-1 in their last 14 games, with the only loss to Texas Tech, which they just got the revenge over on Saturday. And
Yep.
then Creighton now has won 9 in a row and went from on the bubble in January to now just improving their seeding rapidly. Do you think these two teams are actually legit title contenders, or are we just seeing teams that are really hot right now?
I'll give Arizona legit. I think Arizona can do it because they were a team that was preseason ranked relatively high. And if we're following just the historicals, they're in the right spot.
Yeah.
Creighton's a team. I feel like we've seen this story before, right? Like I think if they do like a cardiac Kemba style and run the rest of the season, win the Big East tournament, I'm in,
Yeah.
right? But
Hmm.
I gotta see it. I'm not. They're the one I'm thinking is a little more streaky right now.
Yeah.
However, we did say early in the year, like if they could stay healthy, they could do it. But like,
Uh-huh.
can they stay healthy?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were definitely on them with the Kalkbrenner bet at the beginning of the season. We definitely like Creighton. I think that, like you were saying, these two teams are in different like levels. I think Arizona, yes, they are like a Final Four contender. I could see them making a run in March. Creighton, I'll have them probably making the Sweet 16,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're in the same level of like I can realistically see them making a Final Four unless just everything broke their way. All right, next up, a couple teams that we have been all over the place on these two for the season. Texas A&M, they go into Missouri, grab their fifth quad one win of the season, and now they're eighth in the rankings. Are you putting them in the same combo as the Tennessees, the Floridas, and all the big teams in the SEC?
No. Way too sporadic for us, man. They are
Yes.
way too spread. Am I gonna be happy if they do it? Absolutely. But like,
Mhm.
holy I think I've said it probably this will be the fifth time on this show. I
Yeah.
don't know what to do with them. When I
Hmm.
love them, I think they're gonna win. They stink. And when I think they're gonna maybe barely squeak out something but not cover, they cover by a bajillion.
Yep.
I can't figure them out.
Yep.
Also, we now have the fun old Buzz in the old train of potentially taking the IU job because ultimately none of them are going to take the IU job.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
I
throwing
know.
out every name possible, but I do
Uh-huh.
think that's a slight distraction. But no, I don't trust them.
Yeah, and they're like you said, they're so hard to predict. Their last 3 road games, they've beat Mississippi, South Carolina, and Missouri. Like you just don't usually see a team like Texas A&M that is so inconsistent win road games, and then they lose a home game against Texas. They've lost to Kentucky, Alabama. So it's just I haven't been able to bet them successfully
No.
like pretty much the whole season. So I'm not buying them either. They're a lot like Tennessee though. They play a really good defense, and their offense is basically just revolves around a couple players. They do have 7 quad one wins already this season, and they still have Auburn, Bama, and Tennessee yet to come. So they could really build quite
They
the
could.
resume. But I don't see it happening. I'm not putting them up there with
This
even
is
Florida.
this is
So
exactly what's going to happen, Kyle. I can see it now. We're going to do our grand special tournament bracket picks.
mhm.
And one of us is going to make a move on A&M, and the other one will
Uh-huh.
just follow. And this is
It's
essentially what will
true.
happen. We'll be like, you know what? The matchups are great for them. They're going to make it all the way to the Elite Eight, and then they'll get beat in the first freaking
First
round.
round, yep.
Or we'll be like, that's a tough second round play. I don't know. We'll have them getting beat in the second round, and they'll make the Final Four.
Yep.
Like that's exactly what's going to happen with Texas A&M.
Yeah, we try avoiding betting them all season, and then when we
Yes,
do our bracket, we completely pick wrong. Yep, that sounds
that's
about right.
yeah.
Yep.
That sounds like us, you know.
Yep.
So
Another team that actually, until the last 3 games, I was actually pretty high on Marquette. They have now
yeah,
lost 3 in a row, all in the Big East, UConn, St. John's. Most recent
Creighton.
losses, yeah, Creighton, that was the other one.
Yeah.
Are you out on them, or do you think this is just a blip in the radar for Marquette?
Okay, we need to talk about this.
Okay. Okay.
I think if we're honest with ourselves, like in our heart of hearts as a podcast, we've actually been out on them all year. Because we always say they're great at home and we don't
Yes, that's
trust them on
true.
the road.
Yep.
Therefore, they are Texas A&M. Like
Yeah.
we've really kind of been out on them all year.
Yeah.
So I'm not in on them because they're not playing at home.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, in Cam Jones right now, if you're not like paying attention to the day to day, he's in a bit of a slump right now. His shooting
Yeah.
percentage has dipped like significantly. So if he's not rolling, their offense isn't nearly as good. I just really think the Big East is pretty overrated. Like I think
Yeah.
St. John's is like in a class of their own right now, honestly. But UConn, I don't buy them. I'm starting to fade here with Marquette, and then like the Villanovas of the world, they're
Yeah.
not like even in the bracket. So I just kind of think I got a little over my skis thinking the Big East was going to be legit again, and I think they've kind of taken a step back at least for this season.
I got a question for you. Here's a good one.
Okay.
Who do you think makes it farther in the tournament? The Big East or the Mountain West?
Let's put a lot of faith in Utah State because that's the team I like right now the most, probably out there. I think St. John's, they convinced me this last weekend. We're just Rick Pitino just pulling it out of his ass right now, just winning every game. I would have to go with the Big East just because of St.
St.
John's right
John's.
now.
They are tremendous on defense.
They
They are
are. It's insane.
suffocating.
Yep.
Suffocating.
Yep. And they
Okay,
got a
I was
big
curious.
yeah, they got a big game
Those
this week that I'll talk about later too.
yeah,
So
those conferences I feel like are the same, but they're treated
mhm.
different. This
Yep.
year, that is, this year.
Yep, for sure. We did a lot of talk about UC Irvine in the pod, never listened
Yeah.
to by anybody.
Never heard around the world.
We spent a good 5 minutes talking about them, and they absolutely got crushed on Saturday by UC San Diego. I'm going to not no longer have them as my favorite mid-major to small major team. Are you still on them, or who are you backing as like your favorite mid-major team right now?
Hey, we don't quit, okay? We're not bandwagon geeks. I'm still on UC Irvine. I said
Okay.
it in the Unheard podcast around the world. Both those teams are legit. They both should be in the tournament. I don't care what happens in their conference tournament. Both of them need to be in, and it's going to be a travesty whenever one of them
If
gets
it's
left
not.
out because it's a one
Yeah.
big league. It will be. They're going to put in
Uh,
Rutgers at like 14 and 32
yeah.
instead of UC and Irvine or UC San Diego. But no, I'm not quitting on them. But I do think both teams are extremely quality teams.
Yep. And for those that haven't tuned into UC San Diego, just why would you before this year? They are actually number 50 in the Kim Palm ranking. So it's not like they just came out of nowhere and randomly popped up to beat UC Irvine. They're over teams like Utah State, as we mentioned, Xavier, Northwestern, Kansas State. Like they're over a lot of like major conference
Yeah.
teams that they just don't get any credit for. Yeah. So I'm going to back a team that crushed our heart last year. They took down our Indiana State team in the final of the
Oh,
Missouri Valley Conference. They've had, as again on the podcast, they've had 5 bad days this entire season. The rest of the days of the season, they're 22-0. That is Drake. They're 22-2 so far this season. They are favored by Ken Palm to win the remaining of their games by at least 7 points. So that would mean they would be 28-2 going into the Missouri Valley Conference. I have been trying to find mid-major teams that actually will get an at-large bid. I think if they can actually run through the rest of their regular season, that would give them enough to even lose in their conference tournament. So right now, that's the team I'm paying attention to just because it seems like all of these smaller conferences are only going to get one bid. So I just wanted to find a team that could possibly get in as an at-large.
yeah. I think that's fair because if you remember, Indiana State got left out last year and then made that run in the NIT. So I feel like Missouri Valley is going to they're going to be in that realm of like, okay, they make it to the championship, lose. We got to
Yeah.
put them in.
Yeah. And it does help that when you look at the net rankings, they do have 2 quad 1 wins. So at least it looks good there. I know there's teams that they weren't all that great, but it's still 2 quad 1 wins that like Indiana State only had one of last year. So that might give them a little boost as well. All right. Any other takeaways from the weekend?
Not really. I'm trying to actually think of a really good low major team. That's not someone we usually talk about, though. We got to
Okay.
really brainstorm and come back with a quality team everyone can root for come tournament time.
Sounds good to me. The one takeaway I have is the NCAA really, really needs to schedule better on Super Bowl Sunday. If
Oh yeah,
everyone is needs something to watch during that 6 hours before kickoff, and they didn't have any really good games yesterday. It was just a bunch of like okay teams playing each other. You got to throw a big like top 10 matchup on that day, or at least two really big schools playing on that day because man, that is a lot of time to kill.
they should have done. This would be a Banana Lands one, and you're risking a lot. But that's what you got to do, like Duke, North Carolina, at like 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be
Like
great.
that's something that people can get behind, right?
Uh-huh.
Again,
Yep.
because it's Duke, North Carolina, though, like it's either gonna be the biggest game of the day
Uh-huh.
or it's gonna be a fart fest, like you don't really know.
Yeah. Yeah, I woke up on Sunday making all my wagers on the football and I was like, okay, I got to get out my college basketball bets. And then I
Yeah,
was like, really? We don't get one like really quality basketball game
yeah.
all day.
You
So
say that Maryland played on Sunday. They're a team we never talk about.
I know.
They're sneakily working their way into being a dangerous team come tournament.
Yeah,
Extremely efficient. They've wiggled their way into the top, was it 17 now?
I think
Like
so, yes.
they're as good as anybody really right now in the Big Ten. Like watch out.
Yeah, and Derek Queen had a game of his life on
Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
say
was
taking on
amazing.
Rutgers.
Hmm.
So
Yep. All right, so let's move it on to the picks for the Tuesday and Wednesday slate. Again, we'll be back Thursday for the weekend. But guys, Tuesday, absolute huge day of college basketball. We start off with, I think, the game of the week until like the weekend. Or actually, when does Bama and is that next weekend? Yeah, so it's
yeah.
until Saturday. This is the game of the week, I think. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Number 7, Purdue, 19-5 at number 20, Michigan, 18-5. These two teams only have two losses in the Big Ten, so they're two of three. Michigan State's the other one trying to battle for the lead in the league. This is a rematch of a game that happened about 3 weeks ago in mid-January, where Purdue absolutely crushed Michigan by 27. Since then, Michigan has just been on a roll. They're 11-0 at home, but right now, Purdue's big three are almost impossible to stop. Who do you like in this matchup, which, based on Ken Palm, will pretty much be a pick 'em?
Yeah, I'm going to take Purdue, and because I am anticipating it being a pick 'em or at least close to it. Michigan has all of the reasons to be up for this game, but after what I see what happened with them with Indiana,
Yeah,
an Indiana team that is dying, legitimately dying. Their
it
coach
is.
might be dying too. If they'd like let them just hang around, and they're not a good basketball team.
Mhm.
Purdue, if they do that for 5 minutes against Purdue, it's over. The game is over. So I will take the safe play and take Purdue.
Yeah, I'm taking Purdue as well. And I was shocked when I saw Ken Palm had Michigan to win this one by two. So that's why I think we'll definitely be getting to pick them out of this one. But if you haven't been paying attention to Purdue like a night in, night out basis, like my wife makes me do for them, they are playing at a whole different level right now than what they did like in the early December, late December. They are just unstoppable. Apparently it is really difficult to scout the high pick and roll between Kaufman Wren and
Yeah.
Braden Smith because nobody in the Big Ten is doing it. So I'm just going to keep rolling with them. They're 11-1 in their last 12 games, and that big three right now is just so damn good. All right, let's move it on to another game on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Number 3, Florida, who is 20-3 at number 22, Mississippi State, who's 17-6. Two teams absolutely trending in opposite directions. Florida's 5-1 in their last six. Mississippi State is 3-5 in their last eight. I honestly haven't had too much time watching Mississippi State this year. They're usually on during a bunch of other good games, kind of
Yep.
like this one. Who do you like here in this one?
Yeah, Mississippi State. I've kind of been on their trend for most of this year. They're a really quality defensive team. I think they're a tournament team. They're going to give somebody fits and maybe find themselves in the second weekend. But to what we're getting at here, when they play teams that have even a little bit of offense, they struggle. They do. They didn't do well against South Carolina 2 weeks ago in a big loss, and South Carolina doesn't even have great offense. Ole Miss they couldn't get up for. I'm going to take Florida. I actually think this will be an under for the total. I think this total is going to be close to like 157. I don't know if it even touches 150. I think Florida probably runs away early, and this game ends like 71-44.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Yeah, talking about Mississippi State, they have five quality one or quad one wins, so they have the numbers to get them a decent seed in the tournament. But if you look further into that, they're 1-5 against the ranked teams in the SEC. So
Mhm.
like they have gotten some decent wins, but they haven't been against the highest of opponents. Everything here tells me to take Florida. It smells like a trap, though.
It
I
does,
do know
yes.
that. But I can't not back them right now with how well they're playing and just seeing like what Mississippi State's done against a good team. So I'm going to take Florida. But if the line is like more than just like a possession or two, I might stay away from this one because right now they have Florida winning by 6 on Ken Palm, and I'd feel a little rough laying 6 points on the road in a big
Yeah.
SEC game.
Who's Florida playing next? That's the real question.
They play South Carolina at home on Saturday.
Okay, it's not a look ahead spot then, so I
It
think
is
you're
not.
fine.
Okay. All right, next one up here. Tuesday night again, man, 7 o'clock. You better make sure you guys are around the TVs and have multiple TVs set up for 7 o'clock on Tuesday. Number 5, Tennessee, 20-4 at number 15, Kentucky, who is 16-7. It's been a while since we talked about Big Blue Nation, not just because we haven't podcasted in a while. It's just because they're 2-6 or 2-4 in their last 6 games, and they haven't really played any big teams outside of Tennessee in that run. And that was without Ziegler, but they did beat Tennessee, but again, without their best player in Tennessee. Tennessee looks for revenge here, but it won't be easy because there's only been one team to beat Kentucky in Rupp Arena, and that was
Mm-hmm.
Alabama this year. Tennessee currently is a 2 point favorite per Ken Palm. I think Kentucky actually typically always matches up really well on it with Tennessee this year and in past years. So I'm going to actually take Kentucky here money line to get the home win, which will be a very big boost to their potential seeding come March.
Yeah, so this is the same premise that I just gave you with Florida, Mississippi State, except Kentucky's the home team. I think that it's going to be a low scoring affair, but Kentucky has the offense. Also, if you're just looking at it, I've taken the road team in the last 2 picks we just had, so I had to switch it up. So I'll take
Yeah.
Kentucky.
I know I could not go with 3 road teams to start on a Tuesday night. No way. Last game for Tuesday, 9 p.m. A little bit of an outlier here with only one ranked team. It's UConn 16-7 at number 24, Creighton 18-6. On January 5th, though, if you go back all the way to January 5th, UConn was 12-3 and ranked number 11 in the nation. Creighton was 9-6 and wouldn't have been in the tournament at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, Creighton hasn't lost. We talked a lot about them today. UConn is just 4-4 after that stretch. UConn actually has done a lot of their winning on the road, though, this year. They just beat Marquette on the road last week, and they have 4 other road wins. Do you think UConn keeps this one close? They currently look like they'll be about 6 point underdogs per Ken Palm, or do you think Creighton continues to stay hot and rolls?
Yeah, I'll take Creighton to win outright, but if it's 6 points, I'll take UConn to cover.
I completely agree. I think this one will actually be really close. I think UConn will be up for this. They, for some reason, are getting up for the road games and not their home games. I didn't realize how bad UConn's defense, though. This scares me come March if I think of any run that they could go on. They're outside the top 100 in defense, and we know how bad that is for like a
It's
precursor
not
for the
good.
tournament. So,
Not good.
all right, I put this one on here because I thought we just definitely needed to talk about Villanova for a second because I know you do support them. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Number 9, St. John's, 21-3 at Villanova, 14-10. This is a savior season hope and prayer for Villanova. They aren't close to the bubble yet, but if they get a win here, they might start popping up on the next 4 out list. Do you give Villanova any shot here, or St. John's going to get this one?
I think Patino's got them playing at a different level.
I do
On the
too.
on the Unheard podcast, they said whoever won the game between St. John's and Marquette had every opportunity to shoot their way up to a 1 seed if they went out. St. John's looks amazing.
Yeah, they
So
really
I
do.
will take them. I don't like it. It's going to take a Herculean effort out of Villanova to win this game at home, but we need it and we need it bad.
Very bad. Yeah, so a little bit about this game. Villanova has lost every single quad one game they've played so far this season, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
they definitely desperately need this. Um, St. John's, like you said, incredible defense. They're number 2 in defense right now in all nation, but they're like in the 80s in offense, so they're not exactly efficient on offense, but they do play a very fast pace, which is exactly opposite of Villanova.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I'm going to say this now. I know they're terrible at offense. Efficiency
uh-huh,
wise, I don't care what you say. Watch
yeah,
them play offense. You
uh-huh,
literally looks like you're watching people play at Rucker Park. They
uh-huh,
play street New York style
yeah,
basketball.
100%.
Like it is definitely old school Big East basketball. They can be 80th in efficiency all day, but they will run, 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 run.
Yeah, I think this matchup is absolutely terrible for Villanova. If you don't know how they play, they're very slow.
Oh yeah.
They are terrible at defense, and they're basically a one-man band on offense. Dixon will have to go off for at least 30 for this game. I will lay a decent amount of points with St. John's on the road here. And let's go ahead and see what Ken Palm has to say. 'Cause I think it's going to be closer than, yeah, they have it as St. John's only winning by 3. So I would be glad to lay the 3 points with St. John's
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. And by the way, you say it's maybe only. It is definitely only a one-man Tony show for Villanova.
It really is. And I think I actually gave St. John's too much credit for their offense. Let me pull up their efficiency number for their offense.
I know they're not great efficiently, but when you watch them play, it's because they just run up and down like they're playing and one mixtape tour.
That is so true. Yeah, they're 83rd, so I was right on with that. But yeah, they're still putting up 70s, and I mean, I don't even know if Villanova gets to 70 half their games. So
No, I'd be willing to bet right now. I don't know. I bet you that St. John's doesn't even shoot 44% from the field most of the time.
that's probably right.
40% from the field. 40% from the field. Let's go look.
I was about to say this can be something we actually can find.
St. John's are ranked ninth in the country right now. Let's see their stats. What's their team? Yeah, they shoot 41% from the field. No, it's not true.
I just say that is atrocious.
I was looking at the wrong thing. They do shoot 45% from the field. Wow.
45.
What do they shoot from three, though?
29.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah,
That's not good.
Oh my goodness, we got to go to this more. So their best guards shoot 26%, 23%, and 21% from 3.
All I'm going to say is they need a white boy from Indiana on that team.
They're just chuck and duck here. It's whoever wants to
Told you,
shoot
dude.
next.
It's an and one mixtape too. That's what they play, dude.
So I didn't have any other picks because honestly, we touched on all of
Yeah.
the really big games. I didn't know. Do you have any other picks for the rest of the
Nothing.
Tuesday, Wednesday slot?
No current leans for me. I'm really looking forward to the night on Tuesday. Also, the big games for the weekend. We'll get to those obviously later in the week, but otherwise, get ready, get locked and loaded. We're about to get thick into it for the next month and a half.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw on my Twitter. I took off today from college basketball betting. I was like, I just had one
You just
hell of a
needed-
week in betting, and I just need to prep myself for the
Yeah.
stretch run here. So
Sometimes you got to take that cleanse, just cleanse yourself for a day, get the palate going, be ready to go after that.
Yep. So we'll be back on Thursday. You'll probably hear it on Friday. We're talking bracketology. We'll also give updates to our records for our battle this year, and then of course we'll give you picks for the weekend and leans for the weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Love you guys.